Tropical development has now become likely in our area as we get closer to the weekend. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. Nice to see you on a Tuesday. Hope things are going well. Another jam-packed video for you friends. Coming up, I've got all the newest information on our tropical wave, how we're going to see this play out across our area, and the higher potential now for this to develop as it gets through the Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas as we move through our weekend. We'll talk about the rainfall forecast in your area and some active weather across the region on this Tuesday. You know, I love to hear from you guys. Know it's going to be an important forecast. If you have a specific question about the forecast, you can drop it in the comments section below. Obviously, I'd love to hear from you guys where you're viewing from, what the weather has been like. So, very briefly, we'll talk about the here and the now with this tropical wave. We'll get a lot more into it in just a minute, but you can see again, the X kind of marks the spot now. This was from the 2 p.m. Update from the Hurricane Center. It's made a little bit more progress off towards the west, and you can see a few showers and storms for us here. We're just beginning to get a little bit more moisture associated with this wave, fighting that Sahara dust its entire journey through the Western Atlantic, and that moisture is beginning to approach the Lesser Antilles. All right, so we'll start to see the impacts from this tropical wave very late tonight, and that as we get overnight and into our Wednesday. So again, just a quick snippet of a preview here, but the first thing that we like to do at Meteo Mundo, of course, is talk about the here or the now. What's been happening across our entire area on this Tuesday, because we want to focus on what's going on right now, and then we'll get into the forecast. Current temperatures in Fahrenheit on the board, mainly in the upper 80s to the lower 90s. Feels like temperatures are very hot in some spots. Again, you get to 110. Feels like temperature that is 43 degrees Celsius. So let's talk about the areas that we've had some storms for today. Bahamas are going to be an area that we're going to be mentioning a lot here in this video. And my friends there, another pretty active afternoon. I'm going to drop off that orange development area. Again, a lot more on that coming up. But on this Tuesday afternoon, storms are becoming more widespread. Walker's Key, Grand Bahama, Freeport, Lucaya, Abaco, Bimini, trying to get a few storms near the Andros area as well. I'll throw on the radar data here, drop off the satellite data real quick, and you can see that over the last couple of hours, these storms have fired up. They've been very slow to move, a little bit of a progression northward, so it's really Walker's Key and the Grand Bahama areas with the highest rainfall for today. They're fading a little bit at the hour, but still some good storms and some lightning there. Again, a few have trickled up towards the Andros area. Still relatively dry for Nassau and other areas off towards the south here. I'll go back over to the satellite data. You can see the live lightning data as well. And again, lightning counts are more prolific to the north. A couple of isolated showers could develop in the central and the southeast Bahamas through the remainder of the afternoon. Storms are beginning to pop up right now over portions of eastern Cuba. Once again, another fairly active afternoon. Notice we have this broad mid-level spin. I mentioned this in yesterday's video. The surface winds are still out of the east, but this moisture coming out of the north from south to north is providing some showers and storms in a couple of spots. Not there, Rusty. How about here? Our friends in Jamaica, you can see that moisture lifting through. Now look, has it produced a lot of rain so far? No. One thing it's doing is it's producing a fair amount of cloud coverage, which means we have this low-level moisture that's trapped, which means the humidity is through the roof. It's a very hot day across the island. Feels like nearly 110 there in Kingston. Again, lower 40s Celsius. Not as bad in Montego Bay. Could we see a few spotty showers out of this? Absolutely. Perhaps even later this evening, we could get a few rumbles of thunder. That kind of spins right back around towards the Cayman Islands. Again, this is all mid-level energy for us here. When I throw on the water vapor imagery, we can see that clear as day. You can see that spin. Again, this is not a tropical system, this mid and upper levels of the atmosphere, but it is allowing some moisture to develop in this area, and we're going to catch a few showers and storms because of that. On the tail end of it, we're getting some rain trying to get going right now through Hispaniola. Showers and storms, again, a little bit more active right now at the hour. Let me get back over to this enhanced satellite imagery. Look at the storms firing up at the hour just north of Santo Domingo there. Good heavy rain near Santo Domingo. Areas up towards the north. This is going to try and expand, get to places like Samana, maybe as far northwest as Santiago de los Caballeros. Certainly some heavier rain is possible as well just towards the east of that. San Pedro de Macorís, La Romana, I'm not sure Punta Cana is going to get any rain. It's going to be close. If it's going to happen, it's actually going to be out of the storms from the Mode of Passage, the western sides of Puerto Rico, trying to work its way off towards the west. And again, this area has had a lot of inundation of the Saharan dust. So we've had a lot of haze. Hopefully getting a little bit more in the way of some stormy weather here. Now, obviously, these areas are going to get direct impacts from this disturbance as well. Off to the south here, I'm going to switch on over to our visible satellite imagery. And again, we're going to see some showers. We've had a few spotty showers in Antigua and Barbuda today, towards Anguillas, Montserrat, and Guadalupe. Light passing showers. You could have maybe seen a heavier downpour, let me know, but it's been isolated in nature. Now, this will improve rain chances overnight and into our Wednesday. When we get south of Martinique, we're not going to have direct impacts from this wave, okay? We're still going to have some showers and maybe an isolated thunderstorm, St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, but just not as widespread. The moisture quality here, again, is just a little bit not as active as areas up to the north, but a few spotty showers in Nueva Esparta, my friends in the ABC Islands. We're dry for today with feels like temperatures there that are mainly, again, well above 100, and it's been an actually quieter day for today so far through most of Central America. Yucatan still relatively dry, Cancun and Cozumel. We've seen a few storms get into Belize for today, but again, more isolated, a little bit more towards Guatemala, and then areas off towards the west. Northern sides of Honduras, San Pedro Sula, La Chiva just getting going. A few storms near Roatan, and more will continue to develop through the afternoon hours, but just not as prolific except down in Costa Rica and Panama, where they actually have some energy coming out of the Pacific, and we've had some very heavy rain for Panama and Costa Rica for today. So this is the broad perspective of what's happening right now. We've had a few showers and storms up towards Bermuda as well. Don't want to forget our friends there. And you can see some of the lightning strikes there. That system is trying to lift a little bit to the north and to the east. Okay, friends, time to get into the tropics as we do so. Thank you for liking this video. Thank you for subscribing to Meteo Mundo if you want your latest daily forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, which of course includes all the tropical information as well. Thank you for sharing this with your family and friends. Thank you for finding ways to support the channel via the memberships, the super thanks, the PayPal, the Venmo in the description. Alrighty, let's get into this tropical wave. Very interesting here. First of all, again, we're going to get back into what it looks like right now. I'm going to throw on the visible satellite imagery. Let's see how far we are away from things. We'll go from the Antigua, Barbuda areas here. Now, if we get to the X, which is out here, we're about, what, 600 plus miles, but really, it's more like about here right now. 360 miles, that's still over 500 kilometers from the Leeward Islands. All right, let's throw on, as a matter of fact, here are kind of enhanced satellite imagery with the visible satellite imagery. I kind of love this. We're losing the daylight for today, but you can again see there's a little bit more moisture associated with this. We're finally overcoming the Saharan dust. When I throw on the water vapor imagery again, you guys can clearly see that. This has been fighting dry air its entire journey in the Western Atlantic, but now we're just starting to see this get into a little bit more favorable environment. One, more moisture, less dry air. Two, very little wind shear, and then three, sea surface temperatures that are out of control hot. Thankfully, we haven't seen this thing spin up yet. And again, I mentioned this in the last several videos. It more than likely wasn't going to develop before it hit the Leeward Islands. More than likely wasn't going to develop before it went through Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. And you can see the hurricane center keeps moving the actual development area farther north and west. Now, this chance is up to 60%. That's why tropical development is likely. But it's going to be down the road. It probably won't happen until this weekend over the Bahamas, or even early next week north of the Bahamas and along the United States East Coast, if we take the Hurricane Center's development area, which is becoming more in agreement with some of the models. The models are beginning to slide more to the European model, okay? So again, we still have impacts expected for the Leeward Islands and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, but with an open tropical wave, not a closed center of circulation. Still going to be some heavy rain and gusty winds out of this area. The first potential for this to try and wrap up would be over the Turks and the Caicos and then through the Bahamas as well. So let's talk about how this is going to play out here from what I've been seeing today. First of all, again, ocean temperatures are outrageously warm. Thank God it's not the bathwater of the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, unbelievable ocean temperatures there. However, it is still exceptionally hot through the Western Atlantic and into the eastern side of the Caribbean. So sea surface temperatures are going to support this storm in a big way. Let's look at the European model. Again, we are looking at the deterministic model here. And again, we still have the same signal. This has been now several model runs in a row where the European model tries to develop something over the Northwest Bahamas. But I want you to notice now the timing of this. We don't even have a closed low in the Bahamas. It's not until it gets north of there, off of the east coast of Florida or even Georgia and the Carolinas, that we actually wrap this up. So we still have, from the European model, a tropical depression, maybe a weak tropical storm, but now potentially not even developing until it rides up the United States East Coast early next week. Still doesn't mean it's going to be a very wet, sloppy forecast for the Turks, the Caicos, and the Bahamas. Doesn't mean that there's still not an opportunity to get a tropical depression or a storm over the Bahamas. But even with the European model, it's backing up the timing of actually trying to develop this disturbance to become a depression or a storm. These are the ensemble members. Again, there's 51 members. So the more green plots we see with that lower pressure, the more ensemble members are picking up on development. Again, same scenario with almost all of the members. It waits until it moves north of places like Grand Bahama and Walker's Key to really develop this system, and then pushes it to the north and to the east. So this could end up being more of the United States East Coast problems than anyone else. Again, doesn't mean it's going to be a wet, sloppy, weekend for the Bahamas and the Turks and the Caicos and then up the Florida East Coast into Georgia. But as far as developing an area of low pressure with a stronger depression or storm, that more than likely in the European model now happens north of the Bahamas early next week. I took a couple of snapshots. Same thing that I just showed you on a loop, still shots, okay? This is Saturday morning. There is one ensemble member of 51 that develops a depression or a storm over the Abaco area. One of 51, okay? Again, all of them are north of there from there. If we look at Monday afternoon, I'll just take myself off camera here. Monday afternoon, again, ensemble members. Look how many more actually have closed lows and look where they're located. A big cluster off the Carolina coastline, some off the Virginia coastline, Maryland, Delmarva, even some way up in the Northeast. Notice a couple of things too. The ones that are hugging the coastline are a little bit weaker overall. The ones that are a little bit more offshore are a little bit stronger. That's what the European model has been showing, where the stronger storms recurve quicker. But there has been a slight shift west in this 12Z run to have a couple of them that are slightly stronger hug the U.S. East Coast. Again, this is Monday early afternoon. So we'll have to continue to watch this as it rides up the East Coast. Hopefully, this thing, if it does spin up, stays far enough offshore where it's going to kick up the surf conditions, but it's not going to bring direct impacts to places like South and North Carolina. Be monitoring that. Haven't showed you the icon model yet. Here's the icon model. It's kind of a hybrid of the European ensemble members, okay? Again, it doesn't develop a closed low until it gets just north of Grand Bahama. You can see that wrap up. It stays offshore and it stays relatively weak. That would be more than likely a weak tropical storm. Debbie is the next name, by the way. But again, the icon and the European models have very similar solutions. If we look at the GFS, the best way I can put the GFS as I've looked over the last 3 or 4 days is if you guys know that dragon meme where there are two dragons and they look really stout and sturdy, and the third dragon's like, that's what the GFS model has been like. I mean, it has just been so erratic. There's nothing to really glean out of this. This is the latest run. I want you to notice where the 3 strongest ensemble members are here. You've got one just to the east of Florida. You've got one way out here, and then you've got one in the Gulf of Mexico. There is such a spread of what the GFS is doing, and a lot of that slows it down to a crawl. Notice that this is not until Monday, now Tuesday, now as we get into Wednesday. So the GFS is so much slower. If this were to somehow become the actual true solution, this would be a very heavy rainmaker wherever this thing wants to stall out, whether it's the northern Gulf Coast or whether it's up the United States East Coast. I don't have a lot of weight in the GFS. As a matter of fact, I don't really have any weight in the GFS until it tries to, if nothing else, have model runs that are consistent. I don't care if it's not showing what the European or the Icon or anyone else is showing, but it's been flipping and flopping back and forth so much that you can't really put a lot of weight in the GFS so far. But just to show you guys again, some of the things I've been looking at. So let's break down kind of what the models have been showing and what I've gleaned out of this for you guys. So late this week, weekend, maybe even early next week, tropical development is likely because the National Hurricane Center now has it as a 60% chance. The European model has a weak storm over the Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas this weekend. Again, weak or not even developed. The GFS continues its erratic model runs. Again, not a lot to wait on that one. Now, with the European model and even the Icon, this storm may be stronger towards the United States East Coast early next week. So we'll see how that plays out. And we do have time to see how it plays out. Obviously, waves are going to be a concern coming along for the ride with this. So keep that in mind. Now, again, not based off the European model, so you're not going to see the strongest of waves here over the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, but do note that the easterlies will continue for us here. And again, if we obviously get a wrapped up closed center of circulation, the waves will be stronger up the United States East Coast as well. But the easterlies will continue here over the next several days, and then we'll see if we get a closed low and what that will do to some of the waves as well. I can look at a couple different things for you here. We can take a look at the GFS here, but it's really not even worth it, to be honest. So we're just going to take a look at the NAM, and we'll see what the NAM is showing here. Now, the NAM has a pretty good handle on things. It doesn't go here as far out in time, right? But if we take a look at kind of what I expect for our areas starting tonight, I think the NAM has a pretty good indication of what's going to be happening. So for our friends in places like Anguilla, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, Dominica, St. Lucia, Guadeloupe, areas to the north, we'll start to see this wave move in tonight and then early tomorrow, okay? Downpours, breezy conditions, but no true tropical system, all right? This will then begin to move over St. Thomas, St. John, St. Croix, Roadtown, the British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. Heavier rain could try and break out over Hispaniola, again, where it finds that moisture field, just sliding right on through. I'm going to zoom this out a little bit more here and then put it into motion. So it's going to be wet weather. It's going to be squally weather, breezy weather, and then maybe right towards the end as we get into, again, the weekend and early next week. So Thursday is the first, Thursday is the first, Friday is the second, Saturday is the third, the fourth is Sunday. I hope that is absolutely right. I'm pretty darn sure that's right. Is that right? That's right, isn't it? Oh my goodness, hang on a second. This is horrible. Yeah, Wednesday's the 31st. Okay, so we're starting this out. Why am I starting that out so late? Let's see here real quick. Give me 1 second. Yeah, I started it out too late, guys. I apologize. I had the wrong time of the model, so it started screwing up what I thought the days of the week were. Again, Thursday is the 1st. So let's go back in time. All right, this is a lot better. Sorry about that. I had the different timing here of the model. This makes a lot more sense. So again, let's pick this up. This is this evening, Tuesday evening. Rain starts to enter the picture tonight. Moves into Anguilla, Antigua, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, St. Bartholomew. You can see that again, spiraling up. Now here it comes as we get into late tomorrow and then early on Thursday. This is Thursday morning, late morning. You can see that spinning in. There we go. That's a lot better presentation. That's what I was expecting to see. So you can see that moving through. And again, I think the NAM has a pretty darn good handle on it. All right. Then as we get into Friday, now it starts to move into Hispaniola and the Turks and the Caicos. And that's going to be early on Saturday. That's as far as the model goes out. We will get kind of side impacts in Jamaica and maybe the Cayman Islands, but the core impacts are going to be Turks and Caicos, East Cuba, Hispaniola, and then again, as I mentioned, Puerto Rico U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and the Leeward Islands. There you go. You can see it coming right on through. And the NAM is right along with the icon, right along with the European. So we're starting to get more development here as far as potential and then agreement with the models themselves. And again, thankfully, this thing has been fighting drier air because conditions in this area are extremely favorable for development. But thankfully, it's starting with very little as far as organization goes. Let's take a look at the winds as well. And again, what you're going to see here is a pretty elongated wind field. And I mentioned that the easterlies are going to be strong. We're not going to see a tight rotation. Anything, if this is trying to develop near Hispaniola, always has a tough time because of the ingestion of drier air here over the island. But again, waves of heavier rain are likely. All the purples that you see are going to be 20, 25, up to 30-mile-an-hour winds. And again, through this time frame, we don't expect it to develop, but you can see that right at the end here, there's a little bit stronger winds. So if I come right here at the end, let's get it right to the end there. You can see over the Turks and the Caicos, our winds are getting near tropical depression strength. Probably, and these are sustained, by the way, these are not gusts. So we're close. So the NAM is actually a little bit more aggressive, or maybe it would try to develop this through the central Bahamas, and we'll see how that plays out. But obviously the weather going downhill Friday into Saturday for these areas. One more loop of that, and there you go. We'll look at vertical velocities. This is basically lift in the atmosphere. And you can see that broad spin. Again, it's beginning to overcome some of the drier air that's in place here. So the NAM is picking up on that as well. So there is some nice inherent rotation with that. Nice presentation there, shows you that. Okay, so let's break down the rain chances in our areas. Anywhere that you see a yellow box is a day that I think this disturbance is going to directly impact that island. So for the Northwest Bahamas and the Central and the Southeast Bahamas, no direct impacts through Friday. Rain chances, again, will still be more localized in nature, if anything else, but improving rain chances overall beginning on Friday. Turks and Caicos rain chances just go up and up and up, and I do expect direct impacts on Friday. Potentially the eastern side of Cuba on Friday as well, but most of the island will still just see the localized showers and storms through Friday afternoon, but it's still a healthy 60% chance. Cayman Islands, 30% chance the next few days, 40% chance on Friday. Belize City, a little bit of an uptick in the rain chances on Thursday, then back down to a 30% chance for your Friday. Isolated showers and storms in Cancun and Cozumel. Jamaica's rain chances go higher, but again, not directly impacted by this disturbance based on the track that I expect and looking at the models. The Dominican Republic, 50% chance tomorrow, then direct impacts Thursday and Friday. Puerto Rico's rain chances go up tomorrow, and it's really kind of like late Wednesday, and then through the day Thursday, the direct impacts from this wave/disturbance. U.S. and British Virgin Islands, again, high rain chances through Thursday as well. Bermuda, pretty healthy rain chance for tomorrow, more isolated Thursday and Friday. Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, Saba, St. Eustachia, Statia, places like that, all direct impacts tomorrow through at least the first half of Thursday. Then behind this, rain chances will obviously tail off. Again, not a true tropical system, but a nice, robust tropical wave coming through this area. It's not wrapped up, no close center of circulation. Antigua, Barbuda, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, all direct impacts tomorrow. Still some impacts for Antigua, Barbuda, and Montserrat for your Thursday. Still fairly high rain chances, Guadeloupe South. St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, again, no direct impacts. Rain chances all a little bit lower. Barbados, relatively isolated. Same thing for Grenada. Slightly higher chance for tomorrow. Trinidad and Tobago in the same boat. Suriname and Guyana, decent rain chances, nothing outrageous. Nueva Esparta and the ABC Islands, an isolated threat for a few showers and storms there, but that would be about it. Rainfall totals on the European model. Again, obviously the European model is going to show its track, and so you're looking at some of the heaviest rain. Now again, easy conversion from inches to millimeters. 1 inch of rain is 25 millimeters. So you get to 4 inches of rain, that is 100 millimeters. Obviously, on the European model, it's going to be the Turks, the Caicos, and the Bahamas, then up through the United States East Coast with the heaviest rainfall potential. Some of Cuba has some heavier rainfall, Jamaica as well, Puerto Rico, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, the Leeward Islands, another maximum, obviously, through portions of the southern sides of Central America. Still relatively dry for the Cayman Islands. We'll have some rain for the Leeward Islands as well, down to the Windward Islands too. Friends, you can follow me through all of social media, Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. You want to send me a picture or video, it is mymeteomundo@gmail.com. Again, you have a specific question about the forecast, you can drop it in the comments section below. So again, to recap, we have our tropical wave here. It's around, let's say, 400 miles east of Antigua at this point in time. We'll begin to impact this area tonight and overnight, but development with this is probably not going to happen until the weekend or even early next week in this area in orange, which now has a 60% chance. So development is likely. We'll see how this plays out over the next couple of days. Again, friends, thank you for liking this video. Thank you for subscribing to Meteo Mundo. I appreciate it. You know, I've got you covered. I'll have the latest update for you tomorrow. So I'll see you then, right here at Meteo Mundo.